Hello there. After a bruising week for the police, forces in England and Wales have been told to check all officers against official databases to root out predatory staff.
There will be no place to hide for those who use their position to intimidate those women and girls or those who have failed to act to reprimand and remove those people unfit from office.
We'll speak to one police and crime commissioner who thinks the real solution is for the Met to be broken up. Also on PM, inflation continues to come down, but not so much for food prices.
Potatoes are up, nappies are up, pizza's up, loo rolls up.
So it's like every day, every week, it's going up by 5 or 10p, and people don't notice that.
Well, we'll ask former US Treasury Secretary, the economist Larry Summers, if there may be light at the end of the inflation tunnel. We'll report from France, which is bracing itself for a day of industrial action. A vicar tells us why he didn't like our item on funerals yesterday. And after warnings that bringing cake into the office can be bad for your colleagues' health, I do a spot check here in New Broadcasting House.
I used to be the guy who'd bring in the chocolate and the sweets, but I put a bit of Christmas weight on, so I try to not do it as often.
I in fact think it's a management conspiracy to get more work out of us by making us overstimulated.
We'll start with the BBC News, read today by Charles Carroll.
The Home Office has called on police forces in England and Wales to check their staff against national databases to help identify officers who it says may have slipped through the net before vetting rules were tightened. The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, said changes must be made to root out officers who are unfit to serve after what she called the despicable betrayal of PC David Carrick, who was revealed as one of the UK's most prolific sex offenders. Our Home Editor, Mark Easton, reports.
Carrick was sacked from the Met after admitting to dozens of rape and sexual offences against 12 women over 2 decades. Scotland Yard admitted there had been missed opportunities to identify the sex offender in their ranks, with a number of red flags being missed. All Metropolitan Police officers and staff are already having their records checked against the national police databases, and now the process will be extended to every force in England and Wales. The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, has said a number of steps are being taken to ensure predatory individuals are rooted out and vetting and standard systems are strengthened.
The GMB union has announced 4 days of strikes by more than 10,000 ambulance workers in England and Wales across February and March. One of the dates, the 6th of February, coincides with industrial action by nurses, who are staging the first of 2 days of strikes in England today. Our health correspondent Laura Foster reports.
Emergency care is still being provided today, but pre-booked appointments such as hip replacements and community nursing are being affected. We don't yet know the scale of the disruption. The GMB union has announced its members at the Welsh Ambulance Service and all but one of the ambulance services in England will walk out over pay on the 6th and 20th of February and the 6th and 20th of March. This lunchtime at Prime Minister's Questions, Rishi Sunak said he had enormous respect for all public sector workers, particularly those in the NHS, and that his government would continue to engage constructively in dialogue with them.
Police searching for a couple and their newborn baby who've been missing for 11 days say they have a substantial amount of cash, allowing them to live off-grid. Constance Martin and Mark Gordon had been travelling around the country before their car broke down and caught fire earlier this month, destroying most of their belongings. Detectives say that neither the baby nor Ms. Martin have had medical attention since the birth. They believe the couple now know how to evade the authorities. Ukraine has said that it has completed a search and rescue operation at the site of a helicopter crash near a kindergarten in Kyiv. They've confirmed 14 people have died, including the country's interior minister and 1 child. The crash is believed to have been caused by poor visibility. A jury has been told that a 16-year-old girl was allowed to die in squalor and degradation at her parents' home in Newtown in mid-Wales. Kaylee Titford, who was disabled, became morbidly obese, weighing almost 23 stone at the time of her death. From Mould Crown Court, Howell Griffith reports.
The court heard that Kaylee Titford was a funny and chatty teenager who'd been fiercely independent, despite depending on a wheelchair. When the first national COVID lockdown was announced in March 2020, schools closed, and Kaylee was never to leave her family home in Newtown again. Over the months that followed, she became morbidly obese. The prosecution say her father, Alan Titford, allowed her to live in conditions unfit for an animal. He denies charges of gross negligence, manslaughter, and causing or allowing the death of a child.
The technology firm Microsoft has announced it will axe around 10,000 jobs. That's about 5% of the company's workforce. The reorganisation will cost more than £900 million. Microsoft says the cuts are due to economic conditions and changing customer priorities.
Thank you, Charles. Well, after the case of David Carrick came to